Luis.
Yes, esteemed Congresswoman, the spirit of Lady Justice is definitely in this room, and for that I thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, and for you too, Congressman, I didn't notice your approach.
But he is the first guy that's shown up.
Yes. In any event, please forgive me in advance for any staccato testimony that I give. I'm enduring psychological and physical wounds from Iraq and 17 years of Army service. So I will try to make my testimony as coherent as possible. My testimony is in the form of a letter addressed to Colonel Ted Westhusing, and it reads as follows. Dear Ted, you are my hero. I did not get the opportunity to meet you while we served in the Army together, but I feel as though I know you from your honorable life and tragic death. Just 1 month before returning to your wife, Michelle, and 3 children, you were found dead on June 5th, 2005, from a bullet to the head. Investigations conducted by the Army deemed your death a suicide, but the circumstances are highly controversial. I've spoken with your brother Tim and father Keith, and we are now close friends. Both Tim and your father believe that the Army did not do a thorough investigation and covered up many of the important aspects surrounding your mysterious and untimely death. When you volunteered to deploy to Iraq in 2004, you were the Army's top ethicist and a professor of ethics at West Point. You graduated 3rd in your class from West Point in 1983. You served for decades with honor and distinction. Years later, you earned a PhD in ethics from Emory University, and in 2004, you volunteered to deploy to Iraq. There are many things I would like to share with you, Ted, but I have only so much time to do so in this letter. But there are things I will mention, like how in September 2003 at Fort Carson, I was put in charge of 80 soldiers bound for Iraq, deploying to a theater of war with no weapons. We traveled to Iraq without any weapons and ammunition. Then we were mortared for 3 days in Balad before arriving to Al Anbar province for link-up with our unit. How would the greatest army in the world send soldiers into combat without weapons? Later that month, I was put in charge of a key strategic location, the port of entry at Al-Walid between Syria and Iraq, with a mere 30 to 40 troopers to secure 100 linear kilometers of Syrian-Iraqi border and between 5 to 10,000 square kilometers of Al Anbar Desert. Additionally, we had to secure the enormous border crossing point, recruit, train, and equip Iraqi security forces, and redevelop the local infrastructure and economy. I wrote countless memoranda to my superiors requesting more resources and personnel, but they went unanswered. In Iraq, I witnessed many disturbing things. I witnessed waterboarding. I was given unlawful orders by superiors to not offer humanitarian assistance to refugees caught between Syria and Iraqi borders. I disobeyed those orders. I witnessed and participated in countless massive operations led by American commanders whose metrics for success were numbers of detainees apprehended without regard to the real effects, tribal, ethnic, sectarian strife conducted by American taxpayer, uniformed and equipped militias the U.S. military calls Iraqi security forces. Most reprehensible was that we have never had close to the amount of troops we needed in Iraq. Yet from 2003 until today, General Sanchez, Casey, and Petraeus, among others, did not heed the requests of their subordinate officers for more resources and more troops. Instead, they perpetually painted a rosy picture of the situation to the country while the country fell into civil war. These generals consistently overstated the strength and number of Iraqi security forces to Congress and still do. Their misrepresentation of the facts should be grounds for courts-martial and criminal indictments. I lost many friends in Iraq, American and Iraqi. Many Iraqi friends continue to suffer as refugees inside and outside of Iraq. As a matter of fact, an Iraqi friend whom I consider a brother named Ali is meeting with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees office in Jordan today to process his application for asylum under the United States Refugees Admissions Program. Recently, Ali contacted me through my website asking for help. As a result, a few of my comrades in the U.S. Army sent him letters of support since he frequently risked his life to help us in 2003 and 2004. I pray that Ali and many others are quickly helped. I wish to focus this letter, Ted, on things we both struggled with enormously: negligence, dereliction of duty, and corruption. You believe Generals Joseph Phil and David Petraeus were negligent and committed dereliction of duty. So do I. In the note you addressed to Generals Petraeus and Phil found by the found by your body that the Army says is your, quote, suicide note, you stated, quote, you are not interested in your careers and provide no support to your staff, no mission support, and you don't care. I cannot support a mission that leads to corruption, human rights abuses, and liars. I am sullied no more. I didn't volunteer to support corrupt, money-grubbing contractors, nor work for commanders only interested in themselves. The members of your family believe this note is a part of a journal entry that was removed and placed near your body. Moreover, they told me that they have not received your journal, among other personal effects. While at the port of entry at Al-Walid in 2003, among the many memoranda I submitted to my superiors was a report expressing the need for an automated tracking system for immigration and emigration. General Ricardo Sanchez and Paul Bremer sent a delegation to Al-Walid to assess the port of entry for installation of the personnel identification, secure comparison, and evaluation system known as the PISES to provide tracking of transnational movement of immigration and emigration. When the team departed, they informed me that the facilities would support installation of the PISES. By the time my unit, the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment, left in March 2004, PISES had not been in place. In 2005, I returned to Iraq for a second tour. Assigned as the Regimental Iraqi Security Forces Coordinator, working for Colonel H.R. McMaster, who has today been slotted for General. Among my duties was to oversee the development and security of the northern half of the Syrian-Iraqi border at the port of entry at Rabia. On June 2005, Commander Guy Velarde, working for Multinational Corps Iraq, informed me that CPAT, a sub-entity, had possessed a dozen PISES in containers located in Baghdad. He also informed me that they would install the systems in the near future. Upon return to Western Nineveh province, I informed my superiors, including Colonel McMaster. In August 2005, General Joseph Phil, commander of CPAT, visited Rabia and briefed us so that we could brief him on the status of the Syrian-Iraqi border. We briefed General Phil, who scoffed at the notion of the installation of the PISES system and stated that the system was no good and we don't have them anyhow. I informed General Phil of my conversation with Commander Velarde, to which General Phil replied, "That's not true, and the PISES is no good anyhow." In January of 2006, shortly before departure from my second tour, Colonel Carl Lammers of the United States Marine Corps Reserve sent me an email on a secure network indicating that, in fact, the PISES systems were in containers in Baghdad. I was outraged. As of March 2006, when the 3rd ACR departed Western Nineveh province, no PISES or equivalent tracking system had been installed in the Rabia POE. From 2003 to 2007, no computer systems for tracking immigration or emigration were installed along the Syrian-Iraqi border. This surely contributed to the instability of Iraq. Foreign fighters and criminals were free to move transnationally with little fear of apprehension. It is probable that significant numbers of Americans and Iraqis were wounded and killed as a result of this. I see that I have 1 minute left, so I'll skip down to one more important point. I witnessed contractual corruption on the point of Lee Dynamics International. I have written testimony, notes from then Brigadier General Bergner on page 4, elucidating the fact that General Petraeus and General Phil had no systems of accountability for thousands of weapons and no standard operating procedures for the procurement, stowage, and dissemination of that equipment. And lastly, I would end that for the past year and a half, myself and a number of fellow veterans of Iraq have co-authored pieces in the Washington Post, the New York Times, the San Francisco Chronicle, among a number of other media outlets. And we have beaten our drum to try to raise the issue of the dereliction of duty committed by a number of generals who have been promoted and promoted again and continue to perpetuate the lies and paint a rosy picture of the situation of Iraq. And I strongly urge you to please take measures to perhaps have a congressional testimony to address these matters in entirety, particularly the death of Colonel Ted Westhusing. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.